Topic 1. How the international environment influences the marketing process. As you will know from your domestic business activities, understanding the business environment in which you are operating provides you with useful knowledge on how to best approach marketing decisions. The marketing process remains largely the same whether you are marketing goods domestically or internationally. However, the environment that influences your marketing decisions can change considerably. For example, in the domestic environment, we understand the cultural norms and the regulatory system which define business relationships. As a result, we can easily identify and target customer groupings. At an international level, however, we have to communicate and appeal to the tastes of different cultures and conform to a wide range of market-specific standards, regulations, and business practices. We are also faced with much stiffer competition. Before deciding to export, a company needs to have a good understanding of the differences between the international and domestic marketing environments. So, what do we mean by the international marketing environment? The world is grouped into many geographically distinct regions and countries, which have different physical features and climates, languages and cultural groupings, economic and political systems, technological capabilities, business practices, and lifestyles. The international marketing environment is thus made up of a number of parts: the natural environment, the cultural social environment, the economic financial environment, the political regulatory environment, and the technological environment. The natural environment refers to the natural physical surroundings and climatic conditions in which human beings live. Deserts, forests, plains, mountainous areas or wetlands are all features of the natural environment, as are extreme heat or cold, heavy rains and droughts. The natural environment often differs from one country or region to another. For example, the natural environment of Saudi Arabia is extremely hot, arid and dry, while that of Switzerland is cool, wet and mountainous. Southern Africa is situated thousands of kilometers away from many of its major markets in Europe, Asia and North America. These markets can only be reached by air or sea. Other countries in Africa are also important markets for some Southern African country products. Although some of these countries are relatively close by, poor road conditions in certain areas can make the international carriage of goods fairly hazardous. Topography, that is the physical features of the environment, will influence both the route your goods take to their destination and your choice of transport mode. This will in turn affect cost and thus impact the price that you offer your buyer. Thus, it is important when planning your export marketing activities that you give thought to and make provision for the effects of long journeys on your goods, particularly those goods that will be traveling through different terrains and experiencing varying climatic conditions before they reach their destination. Climatic differences between a country and its foreign markets, if not anticipated and planned for, can take their toll on the durability and quality of goods making up an export consignment. Certain products such as chocolates, candles, and vehicle tires, for example, are adversely affected by extremes in temperature or excessive humidity. Long ocean voyages and/or road journeys increase the chances of goods deteriorating or getting lost or damaged. Consequently, you may need to pack goods more carefully or ensure that they're transported in a temperature-controlled environment. While Southern African countries in general have relatively mild weather patterns, exporters need to remember that countries like Thailand and Malaysia experience high temperatures and suffocating humidity all year round. On the other hand, European and especially Scandinavian countries tend to experience short hot summers and long, extremely cold winters. Different time zones are also a feature of the natural environment. Whereas one time zone applies to the whole of Southern Africa, businesses looking to expand abroad should bear in mind that countries to the east and west of Southern Africa are located in different time zones. This can complicate the communication process, particularly when communication is taking place via online meetings or telephone calls. For example, when it is 9 a.m. in Southern Africa, it is 3 a.m. in certain parts of the USA and 4 p.m. in certain parts of Australia. Differences in the natural environment, however, are not all cause for doom and gloom. The fact that seasons in the northern and southern hemisphere are reversed can create interesting opportunities for sellers of seasonal products. A UK marketing expert once noted that it's always summer somewhere for the deck chair manufacturer. The cultural or social environment is created by those who live in a particular part of the world. Customs, practices, and traditions for survival and development are passed down from one generation to another. In this way, the members of a particular society become conditioned to accept certain truths about life around them. Despite English today being widely regarded as the accepted language of international business, and more people adopting similar dress, eating, and entertainment habits, different cultures are still well entrenched throughout the world. The Dutch, for example, are very conscious of their traditions and will tell you that they are and always will be very different from the French and Germans. Similarly, the Australians are noticeably different from the New Zealanders, as the Malaysians are from the Chinese, and so on. If a company is to successfully sell its products in foreign markets, it must be sensitive to the cultural heritage and social habits of its target market's inhabitants. Culture can be defined as the sum total of mankind's knowledge, beliefs, art, morals, laws, customs, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by a human being as a member of a particular society. Culture manifests itself in a wide range of observable behaviors, from language usage and bodily and facial gestures to the preservation of spiritual or historical traditions and the amount of respect shown towards children, the elderly, and foreigners. Your primary concern in analyzing the economic environment is to assess opportunities for marketing your company's products abroad and/or for locating some of your company's production and distribution facilities outside your home country. How much of a product people buy and which products they choose to buy are largely influenced by their purchasing power. If a large proportion of a country's population is poor, for example, the market potential for many products is likely to be lower than it would be if a large proportion enjoyed reasonable prosperity. If a country is expected to enjoy rapid economic growth and large sectors of the population are expected to share in the increased wealth, sales prospects for many products will clearly be more promising than if the economy is in decline. Thus, a market researcher who is attempting to estimate a country's demand for a product must consider factors such as the general economic outlook, employment levels, the level and distribution of income, etc. You should bear in mind, however, that when income levels drop, people will generally cut back on their purchases of luxury items before they cut back on necessities. Thus, poor countries, which are allocating scarce foreign exchange reserves only to necessities, for example, cheap clothing, simple agricultural tools, etc., may prove to be more reliable markets than rich countries. Each country operates under a particular political or legal system, which is designed to control human activity and maintain law and order. Politics and the law have a great deal of influence over the way we conduct our personal and professional affairs. The size of our state pensions when we retire, the rates and taxes we pay, and our obligations as employers and rights as employees are just a few examples of the way in which the legal system affects our lives. Developed countries largely have stable political environments and legal systems that promote freedom of speech and allow the population to profit from their own endeavors and be innovative within certain parameters. Developing countries are more likely to have state interference in commercial and foreign trade activities, which to a greater or lesser extent stifles innovation and competition. That is not to say that it is easier to trade with industrialized countries than it is with developing ones. The competition in the First World and the NICs is fierce, and the legal systems are usually fine-tuned to spot signs of dumping or other anti-competitive business activity, and also any product shortcomings or breach of health, safety, or environmental standards. On the other hand, frequent changes of regime and/or political upheavals in many developing countries are often the sign of frustration with the political order and economic circumstances in those countries. With each country having its own set of rules and regulations, it is obviously important to have a broad understanding of the importing company's legal framework before you enter into any contractual agreements with it. If a dispute arises during the course of an export transaction, the matter has to be resolved between the contracting parties according to one or the other's domestic legal system. There is no international legal body that enforces judgments. The WTO's General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, also known as the GATT, the ICC's Incoterms, a variety of international conventions ranging from the protection of intellectual property to the behavior of ships at sea, and the bilateral trade agreements that exist between many trading partners are all part of international law. However, none of these agreements are legally enforceable unless countries voluntarily subscribe to them, that is, include them in their own national laws. One of the most significant challenges associated with exporting is becoming familiar and then keeping pace with the many rules and regulations devised by the authorities in different countries to protect the local environment, as well as the interests of businesses and consumers. Every country operates under a particular legal system, which is designed to set parameters for human activity and to maintain order and stability. Such a system also helps to define norms with respect to, for example, product design, packaging standards, advertising practices, payment procedures, the control of imports and exports, etc. Technology is arguably the most dramatic force shaping people's lives today. Technological advances are having a profound effect on how we live, how we identify business opportunities, and how we conduct our commercial affairs, both at a local and international level. The most significant byproduct of technological change in recent years has been the exponential growth in information. Information is cheaper, more accessible, and travels more quickly than ever before. Widely seen as the driving force behind the globalization phenomenon, information has altered many of the traditional views about markets and customers, and most companies have had to completely rethink their missions and business strategies. The information explosion has affected businesses in numerous ways. For example, just a few decades ago, finding information about industries, markets, and competitors was a specialized and costly activity. Today, however, there is no longer much advantage to be had in possessing market-related information and other competitive intelligence, as it is for the most part freely available to anyone with an internet connection. Marketers, to an increasing extent, have had to find other sources of competitive advantage, such as innovative product offerings, swift responses to inquiries, and the delivery of an exemplary service to their established customer base. E-commerce tools and technologies are also propelling more and more people into the international business arena. While in many respects extremely beneficial for business, internet technology, by giving competitors across the world easy access to any market, puts companies under continuous pressure to come up with new and ingenious ways of maintaining their image and clientele in traditional markets.